Hi, Liz Seglin here. Today I wanted to talk a little bit more about Class Notebook in Teams. And this is probably the thing people ask me about the most. And I have been using OneNote, which in Teams is called Class Notebook. I kind of wish they would just call it OneNote because that can be a little confusing. But for about 20 years. In 2004, I got my first laptop, and it was an Acer World Trav, and it had a stylus pen with it, and it would flip around, and you could kind of use it as a tablet. Though, iPads, I don't believe even existed at the time. So with that, I had the pen, but the only app or program I could really use with it was OneNote, which came with the computer. So as a new art teacher, that was great to have. I could make a handout for my students and actually draw on the handout with the pen, and then make copies for my students. So that was pretty cool. So I've been using OneNote ever since, and I love how you can insert pictures, you can annotate things, you can use hyperlinks. So as soon as I could, when I started using it with my students a few years ago, even before I had a class set of laptops, the thing that I really found that I like to use it with was having students write journals online. Because again, they could, insert videos and, their music clips and all of that stuff and actually make their journal interactive. And, it was easier to share, but it still could be private because, if they didn't share it in the collaboration space, then it would be private. So, it was really nice that you had the options of, how to use it. So what I got in the habit of doing every day when I got to school, because for some reason I couldn't distribute things at home, I had to be on our network, is, I would create a document and then put it in the content library. And then I would, go to Class Notebook and just distribute it. And I do that for all 5 of my classes. Now, people have been asking me, can you cross distribute into notebooks? Can I do all of them at the same time? And I believe the answer is yes. There is cross, notebook distribution. But I found out on our school network, in my room anyway, when I did that, it would tend to skip some students and sometimes even classes, like entire classes, like maybe 3 kids would get the page and the others wouldn't. So I just have the habit of just doing it in each separate class. Okay. And I've still had some issues with it syncing because especially when you have pictures, those are pretty big files and they can be, hard to distribute. So, and I also used to put forms, link quizzes right in the class notebook. I no longer do that. One of my hard and fast rules now is that all assignments in Teams go through the assignments in Teams, especially if they're a form, they definitely have to go through here so I can keep track of that in my grades. Okay. So in Class Notebook, one thing I've been playing around with is using PDFs and, setting those as the background so that students can annotate on top of them, with either a pen, or if they click this, they can also type. Okay, so I know some people are doing things like, inserting text boxes. And, I just feel like anything in Microsoft, there's a lot of different ways to do it. But the key for me has actually, even though I'm in Teams and I'm now that we're using Teams, I'm using the class notebooks already set up within the team, whereas before I used to set them up separately. That the only way I can set those PDFs as background is using the OneNote app. So the little trick for me here, and the thing that I found difficult, was finding all my notebooks, because I literally have, student notebooks from like 3 or 4 years ago. And then I had my personal Microsoft account, and I really had trouble finding those notebooks. So what I had to do was actually use them in the browser. So I had to find those notebooks in the web version, and then they would come up in the app. So like this is a sample notebook, and then you can click on more notebooks. And I had even searched on mine, and I really couldn't find some of those until I did that. So you kind of have to activate them in the web for them to open, because it kind of shows you the last used ones. So I'm now in a sample notebook. So this is where, and again, think of this, and this is what I've been trying to tell people, think of this as like a binder. So I have a real notebook / binder, and every time I want to add a section, okay, I'm going to add a section. So, you know, maybe this is that journal I was talking about. Okay, so obviously in that journal section, so like, you know, if we have tabs or something, by the way, I always right click to change the color of my tabs. Then I want to add pages, okay? So, you know, and I'm going to title those however I want. And you can even do it like this. But these, you know, OneNote pages are endless. You know, they go off to the side, and you know, you can change how they look. You know, you can move stuff around however you want it in your notebook. And the things that you can do, you know, there's a lot you can do. But I think in the beginning, you know, what I typically do is copy and paste a lot of handouts in here. So if I was just starting to use OneNote, I probably wouldn't bother so much with the PDF at first, because, you know, students can still type in here. So you can even, you know, type a question, you know, here. You could just type one question and then have students, you know, you could put that in their notebook by distributing the page into their notebooks. And on Teams, when you first open those student notebooks, it prompts you to set them up for students. So I do the unit we're on, which is now collection 1. I do grammar, I do journal, and then sometimes I might do like handouts or, you know, miscellaneous or something like that. So as soon as I'm prompted, I set those up for students in all of my classes. So I have them. So I have a place to set them up. So this is just the sample I set up, and this is just our sandbox account with some other teachers. But just as a sample, I wanted to show them how I get documents into the notebook. So this I snipped, and one thing I'm constantly using is the snipping tool. And I know I keep getting this prompt that the snipping tool is moving, and I really wish it wouldn't, because I like it just as it is and I use it constantly. So then I, you know, Control C to copy it, and then I Control V to paste it. But when I'm in Teams, where I mostly am, now this is the same notebook I was in the app, in that OneNote app, okay? And it syncs, and you can tell it's syncing by this right here, okay? So this is syncing, this is in the cloud. This will take me to the website, okay? Which again, I try to stay in tabs. And a friend just showed me this expand tab that I never used before. So shout out to Debbie for showing me that, because that is really cool, especially if I'm presenting the page. It just gets this stuff out of the way, so there's more, you know, space to show people things. So, you know, I'm distributing things, but in the team, you know, though I'm snipping things and pasting, I still a lot of times want to also keep everything in files. So when I'm in Teams, you know, I have the post on my general board, and if I have channels, I'd have my channels here. My files are handouts I've uploaded. The class notebook, again, think of it as my notebook / binder that has all my pages in it. And you don't have to put everything in student notebooks, okay? So the collaboration space you can do a lot of different things with, where everybody can edit this at the same time, okay? So again, that can have some issues with the syncing. The content library, students cannot edit this, okay? So whatever's in here, they can't delete. Now, I can delete it, okay? So let's say I delete that, and then I'm like, oh, I didn't want to delete that. That's okay, because there's an undo button right here, okay? And another thing I'm constantly telling people is, that navigation pane. So when I'm in, when I first, let's say I'm first going into my team. Let me just go to a different team to show you. And I go to class notebook. And I'm finding that students, I think, are having the most difficulty just navigating through this. So they want to go to class notebook. So this is all they're going to see. And I usually type in, click the navigation pane, which is this. And then the other thing I'm going to want them to do is click on their notebook. So I'm going to write, click on your name. Okay, because when they click on their name, then they're going, no, I don't have any actual other people in this sandbox. Let me go. I don't want to go to that one. I want to go to my sample class. Okay, so I'm going to go to class notebook. Okay, and then I'm going to click on the navigation pane, and then I'm going to click on the student name. Okay, and then this is where they're going to go. However, if I've set up an assignment that's in the class notebook, then they don't have to do that. They would just click on that page and it would take them to the class notebook. So again, there's a bunch of different things you want to do, which is fine. It just really depends on how you want to use it. But again, my biggest advice right now would be, do not try to grade everything in the class notebook. Again, just if students have real notebooks in your class, I used to take those journals home every Saturday and spend an entire day grading and writing everybody a personal note, dragging them back and forth, which takes hours and hours. What I do now is we might have maybe 3 or 4 or 5 journal entries, and I might say pick one journal entry and that we'll take through the writing process. Let them pick one. And then if I was going to do that now, when we're doing hybrid teaching, I would make sure that was an assignment. Okay, so I might say, give me your rough draft, in a Word assignment, or, copy and paste it into a form or something. So it would make it easier for me when I go to grading. Then I could give them their feedback from here. And I could see what they did here, and then I could type in, my feedback and then return it. Okay, and then there would be, if there was a grade there, there'd be a grade. So again, there's a lot you can do. It just depends on how much you want to do with the class notebook. I love it. Other people hate it. It's a very creative thing. We're in these journal entries. Again, students can change the color. They can change their font. They can insert pictures. They can put links for music and videos. So really the possibilities are endless. Now this sticker thing I have found, I'm in the Teams app now and it works. When I have been on iPads And in the web-based version, if I don't have the app, I find that sometimes I don't have access to any of these stickers. And also, you can see now, sometimes they do take longer to load, and sometimes they don't show up. So I used to try to put like these dialogue, you know, images in student work to, like, you know, because I usually put stickers in their paper journals. And again, like, I'm trying to move this. It is moving, but it's kind of slow, and it like seems like it kind of makes this box. So when you do things like that, which is great, it does tend to slow it down, which might make it hard for some students to open it. And you can see, I don't even know how, but I have accidentally done 3 of those. So I try to stay away from the stickers. Now, there are emojis, they're easier to use. And there's audio. But again, these files take up a lot more space. So that's where I think we start to get in like problems opening it, problems syncing. The links you can add, I usually just copy and paste those. And I do not use forms quizzes in OneNote anymore. I do them all through assignment. So I hope that helps, you know, clear up some questions. The best way to use Class Notebook is just to get in there and give it a try. And definitely, if you want to use the editable PDFs, you need the OneNote for Windows, the app. And to find it, I had to type mine in the search box. And I didn't even realize I had it, but I did. And that was the thing that helped me actually finally be able to edit those PDFs. Okay, so I hope that helps somewhat. And, you know, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you have any better way to do things, which I'm sure a lot of people do, I am by no means an expert. Please let me know in the comments below, or post your videos in the link. I would love to watch them. And if you also like my channel, please subscribe for updates and notifications. Thank you very much.